Welcome to South by Southwest, y'all. South by Southwest Online 2021. This is the third day. I hope you have been having a great week. We certainly have here at the Business Finland booth. Business Finland, as you may know, is the Finnish government's innovation funding arm. In Finland, we fund tech startups, typically about 500 million euros a year. Last year, because of COVID, we did about 1 billion euros in COVID support for Finnish tech companies. We funded over 20,000 R&D projects. This year, hopefully we don't need to do that again. We can go back to funding the normal tech startup R&D projects. Today, we have two types of audiences here online. Welcome to you if you came through the South by platform. I'm grateful that you're here because I know we have a lot of competing content online. And if you arrived through LinkedIn or online other means, thank you as well for being here. We really appreciate it. Before going into the actual panel house rules, you are all muted, but you can ask questions through the Q&A chat there. We will not be able to unmute your mic, so you need to, if you have a question, you need to type it in. The way we do the session today is we have pre-recorded our conversation with the panelists. So in a moment, I will start rolling the tape. During the tape, you can, while you listen, just keep on asking your questions. And then we have the panelists live at the end of the tape, so they will be here to answer your questions live. Now, this session is recorded, and a recording will be sent to all of you. Without further ado, I will start sharing the pre-recorded video. Let me know if it's rolling.
All right, we are starting with our three-star panelists here on the quantum computing future made in Finland. I'm going to first start introducing Dr. Himadri Majumdar. He is the program manager of quantum at VTT. Dr. Himadri Majumdar manages the ongoing first Finnish quantum computer build project funded by the Finnish Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment. In his role, Himadri is actively engaged in facilitating the quantum ecosystem in Finland, working together with stakeholders from academia, research, innovation, industry, policymakers, and funders. He is passionate about quantum technologies and would like to see society and industry benefiting from the use of this fascinating technology. Himadri has 20 years of professional experience within emerging tech R&D in various roles, including sales leadership, project manager, and senior scientist. Himadri is an adjunct professor docent in physics at Åbo Academy University in Finland. Welcome, Himadri. Tell us a little bit about your work at VTT.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Petra. Thanks for the kind introduction. It's absolutely wonderful to be part of this one great panel and discuss the possibilities of doing business and innovation in Finland around quantum. Briefly about VTT, it's a 75-year-plus innovation house, which has been working with companies globally. And what we do is we work with businesses, with companies, and help them develop products, or in some cases, we also license technologies which we have developed in-house for their products to be developed out of that. Related to quantum, we are really excited. I am excited. VTT is also playing a leading role in this quantum ecosystem in Finland. Today, I will be talking briefly about some of the things that we have done and we are doing. And what I would really like to know is how we can make Finland more attractive to companies and how we can support them with in terms of talent, in terms of innovation, in terms of business support and funding to get their business started here. And Finland is indeed the best kept secret of quantum in Europe and in the world. And we are slowly coming out of that cocoon and spreading our wings. We have a lot of interesting things, which I will tell a bit during our conversation today. And really open to all kind of collaboration and welcoming all companies to work together with us to make their business successful and showcase Finnish technologies there. So thank you again. Thanks, Petra, for inviting me.
Thanks, exciting to have you. Let's move on to my second Finnish colleague here, Raghu Koduvayur from IQM Quantum Computers. You're the head of marketing and communications. You're a sales and marketing leader, entrepreneur, startup investor, serves on the board of the Finland-India Trade Association and a member of several startup advisory boards. Currently, he's building the future of quantum technologies as the head of marketing and communications at IQM Quantum Computers in Finland. Over the last 2 decades, he's held several business leadership positions within Fortune 500 companies, including head of customer sell-in for the Lumia devices, Asia Pacific at Microsoft, global product marketing and developer marketing leadership at Nokia, and head of marketing strategy at Tieto Oy. As an entrepreneur, he's also founded a predictive shopping startup and successfully led the global sales and marketing for a preventive healthcare startup, NeoSmart Health Oy. Raghu has managed Europe and Asia Pacific regions and lived in Hong Kong, India, and been living in Finland since 2008. Welcome to the panel, Raghu. Tell us a little bit about what IQM is doing.
Wow. Thanks, Petra. First, it's great to be here as part of this panel, and thanks for inviting me. And that is a long bio, so sorry for making you read through all of that, so thank you. Our mission at IQM now it's a startup which has been founded in 2018, and we have offices in Germany and Finland. So we are a growth startup. We have grown to close to 100 employees now. And at IQM, we build quantum computers for the future, for now and for the future, for the well-being of humankind. So we have 3 product categories actually. So where we build quantum computers for research purposes, where we also work as system integrator with all the HPC centers, high performance computing centers. And then also we co-design with the industry players and build quantum computers which can solve real world problems, so application specific quantum computers. And we have partners across Europe. So we are the European leaders in building quantum computers. And we have partners across Europe who are working with us and collaborating with us. And we are also in several discussions in the West, like including in Americas. Also in the Asia region, we are also discussing with several partnerships. So today in this call and this session, I'm more here representing my adopted home, which is Finland now since 2008. So eventually I would want more and more people to enjoy the beauty and experience the Nordic life, which we all hear about. So that would be the end objective. But also on the business side, we would like to find more partners. We are in that growth phase where we know that the quantum future cannot be built alone. So we want more and more partners to come together. And we want to attract talent at IQM and also in Finland, which is one of the most vibrant quantum ecosystems in the world. And we want to attract more talent also to move to IQM and also to Finland in general. So that's why I'm here, but then looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Raghu. I love how we have these 2 Indian gentlemen promoting Finland, doing a better job than I would ever be able to do. Let's get back to the US soil. Whurley, founder and CEO of Strangeworks, a quantum computing startup that makes the power of quantum computing easily accessible and available to all. He's an Eisenhower Fellow, innovator in residence for the Legatum Center for Development and Entrepreneurship at the Sloan School of Management at MIT, a senior member of the IEEE, chairman of the Quantum Computing Standards Working Group at the IEEE, the first ambassador to CERN and Society, a regular contributor to TechCrunch on the topic of quantum computing, and the co-author of Quantum Computing for Babies. It continues. Prior to starting Strangeworks, he was the managing director at Goldman Sachs, he came to Goldman Sachs via the acquisition of his second startup, Honest Dollar. Prior to Honest Dollar, whurley founded Chaotic Moon Studios, which was acquired by Accenture. And how are you not 100 years old with this resume? It's truly impressive.
I am 100 years old. I feel 100 years old. But thank you, Petra. And I again, I'm also not about the bios. When you asked for one, I was like, oh. But it's really great to be here. You know, I think it's exciting to see what Finland is doing in not just putting things like this together around quantum computing, but the process that's being put in place to help bridge businesses all over the world. Asia and Europe were mentioned. Obviously, there's us having talks with you, Petra, and several of the companies and organizations in Finland, and looking forward to seeing what we can do to help put Finland not only on the map for what it's doing for quantum computing, but also to drive quantum computing globally as a partner.
So let's talk about the business. You're an entrepreneur, whurley. Raghu, you have background in entrepreneurship, and we're all building businesses in quantum computing, which is a technology that's in its infancy, and no one really actually knows how to make money. But it's still, I think it was $22 billion went into quantum computing last year globally from governments, and another 1 billion private money. So someone is believing in this business. But how do you guys, I'm going to keep with you, whurley, how do you build a business around something that you don't really know how to turn it into revenue?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, my joke is I'm writing software for computers that kind of don't exist yet. But, the reality is quantum computing is a mystery. But a lot of things around quantum computing aren't. So if you think about it, everything that happened back in the 60s when the microprocessor was invented and nobody saw, autonomous vehicles or the internet or all these other things are happening again. So just like mainframes in the early days of computing, these are usually held somewhere else. They're remote resource, there's time sharing issues, there's all of these common problems. So while the fundamental physics and the way the computers work is very different, we're a software company. So it's very easy for us to do things that help support building a quantum workforce or developing IP or things along that nature with simulators and emulators and actual quantum computers that are available today. And it just, it made a lot of sense for us. Is it a long-term plan? Absolutely, right? Nobody at this company thinks, it's going to be like our last one where we started it on March of 2015 and announced on CNBC we sold it to Goldman on March of 2016. This is more a 10, 20, 30-year plan. But I think that there are ways to build businesses around all of the ancillary parts that are going to be needed. And that may be people building hardware like dilution fridges, or it may be people like us building software.
Raghu, you guys have recently raised nice rounds. How did you convince your investors on the business?
So I think it was a beautiful answer from whurley, right? So it's a good question and a beautiful answer because we are not doing something that has not been done before. Yes, in the quantum space, it is new, but then commercializing research has happened in the past. Building deep tech startups is not new. It has happened many, many times, several times. And it is somewhere where you need to work together to prioritize the long-term strategy. And you need believers who believe in that long-term strategy. And they believe in it if you can prove to them that you are one agile, so you will still experiment because they want you to innovate, right? So they want you to bring out the new products and build this quantum future. And the investors also are the long-term, who are there your long-term partners who believe in the team and also in the long-term vision. So it takes time to find those investors, but there are many investors like that, and we were fortunate enough to find those investors. And also, second thing I would say, which we are extremely proud of, is our team. So being European based and also Finland headquartered, the advantage that we have is the way of working. Building and commercializing deep tech startup and research needs a collaborative approach where you need to create these ecosystems where you don't have all the information in-house. So you need to collaborate across academia, research, be it industry partners. So you need to be open to that kind of an approach. And I think Finland also with the geopolitical in terms of the way Finland is located, plus also with all this network that we have with the ecosystem, not just in Finland, but across the world, the network that we have has proven to be an advantage, and that has convinced our investors to come on board. So I would say the team, the long-term vision, and the ability to convince saying that we will continue to experiment because this is a long-term play.
What about Raghu? You mentioned you do three things. You build the computers, you also do system integration, and then you talked about coding and apps. So that's like three different things. Whereas Strangeworks does one thing, if I understood correctly. So these sound like two different strategies. Is there either of you can start, but like talk about how you share the risk in doing this.
Yes. So just a clarity is that our core is we build quantum computers. So the third one, which I said was co-designed quantum computers, which are still quantum computers for solving real world problems. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'll give it to Whurley with this clarification, and then I can get back to our perspective. Over to you, Whurley.
Yeah, and for us, it's really important that, you know, it looks like one thing, but tying into all of these different machines and architectures and all the software, we actually, out of all the quantum companies, probably have the most because we have 21 partners. We have a whole new set of partners we're about to announce, and we have to tie in our software into all of theirs. So it's like a bunch of little projects under one umbrella that's just software.
Yeah, I've seen your platform. It's beautiful. I told you it looks like music. It just works. It's magic. Let me bring in Himadri. You're not building a business per se. You're building the platform, the ecosystem for the business. What do you? You're not a business advisor, I know, but what would you tell a business that's coming into the space or maybe coming into Finland that's in quantum computing, just about the business and the strategy and the financial risk?
Well, I think Whurley and Raghu covered the question very well, and I truly believe quantum is a high risk, high reward kind of technology, and it definitely has a big impact that it will have on society. One thing that I would clarify is it came up during the discussion is where is the business, and we, when looking at it from an innovation perspective, see it in two let's say directions. One is the part where we have the enablers like hardware companies like IQM, Blue Force, and they are creating the hardware which are necessary to enable this technology to go forward. And then we have the end user companies, and those are the companies which will be using the software, using the quantum computers to do business, to create new opportunities for themselves. And these two paths will go forward parallelly. And at this moment, the business is more on the enabling side. So companies which are building quantum computers and quantum computer or companies who are creating softwares for quantum computers, they will be the first wave success stories here. And then the end user companies will start making money out of it at a later phase.
At a later phase, I've read like 30 years or something like that.
No, I wouldn't say that it's that long. It depends how the technology evolves. As I said, it's high risk, high reward. So if we happen to have a faster technology path, things will evolve much quicker, maybe in a 10-year time frame, 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Let's talk about actually while on VTT, the computer you are building. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
Right. So the computer that we are building is more like a showcase kind of thing, where we will have IQM is a partner, is our partner in that build. So they are taking into account the holistic approach. So they will be the system integrators building the quantum computer. And what we will do is at VTT, being an innovation house, we have certain technologies and certain components which are very good at this point of time, and we would like to have them included in the quantum computer. So we will combine these two sort of aspects here and showcase what we can do from a finished perspective. So our goal is to build 3-phase quantum computers. So we will have one which is 5 qubits, very fundamental, seeing how it works, and then 20 and 50 in the years to come. So this project will run until 2024. And by that time, we hope we will have a fully finished built quantum computer with which we can do quantum algorithms and run it for quantum algorithms as well.
Let me still ask a hard question, Himadri, from you.
Sure.
I know VTT did a bid on the vendor for this computer, and IQM won it. Congratulations. What part of the decision was the technology? IQM is building these superconducting qubits that work in low temperatures, and I know Finland has know-how in the low temperatures. Then there are other technologies like the photonics based, and you guys can tell me about others that I don't even know of. Was it hard to make that decision?
For us, you mean for the choosing the right partner?
Well, or choosing the technology. I don't know which one you chose first, the partner or the technology.
But that's exactly the point. So the right question is, what was the platform that we started with? And I would say, based on VTT's history in superconducting technology and superconducting devices, which we call the quantum 1.0, where we have been developing quantum sensors for 3 or 2 decades at least. That was the basis. So for us, superconducting platform was a platform. So that was the platform of our choice in that case. And that helped us narrow down the partner in a way that we want to work with. And then, well, there were multiple applicants, and then it was a hard fight, but IQM was very deservedly the winner from that process. And I think you touch a very good point, because choosing the platform is not a trivial thing to do, because there are, as you said, 4 or 5 different platforms, out of which one can be a winner in the long run. But at this point of time, I would say, maybe I'm biased, but I would say the quantum or the superconducting platform is having a strong sort of role in developing quantum computers. And we are not doing it in the blind. I mean, companies like IBM and Google are also working on superconductors as well.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Whurley, if you look at the US large tech companies, they are betting on the same technology. For you as someone who wants to make quantum computing accessible and easy to use, is this an issue, having so many different technologies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're supporting everything from system on a chip to photonics to annealers to, I mean, eventually topologicals, but we also support things that are adjacent to quantum computing. So for example, private HPC clusters or, neuromorphic chips or things of that nature. So for us, that's our goal, is to make this super accessible. So we do the hard work so our users don't have to. So they don't have to worry about what the technologies are in the background and what the interfaces are, et cetera, et cetera. So for us, that's just part of what we set out to do. But superconducting is what we see a lot of people using. And as was just said, IBM, Google, a bunch of other companies have kind of chosen that as their technological architecture of choice.
Yeah, the Chinese just achieved supremacy with the photonics platform. Do you guys see that as a like a validation of photonics? Or who wants to take this? No one. Okay.
No one.
I can comment on that. Yeah, well, as I said, there is no clear winner yet. So many different organizations and countries will try different things. And as Whurley said, we should remain agnostic in our, as a technologist, we should remain agnostic and have the attitude of the best technology win. But again, if we go into the details, proving quantum supremacy and on a single device, and then scaling it up to an actual commercial device, it's a different thing altogether. So there is a path to that as well.
So maybe if I can also add in, and that's a good point that Himadri makes, and we have chosen superconducting qubits as our approach, and we believe in that as a business. But then overall, these are approaches, right? At this point, and any deep tech company, when we are building, especially with this research which is being commercialized with a new technology, there are multiple approaches. So it is too early to call the race. It is just that everyone is moving and scaling up. So the next big hurdle is, how do you scale up and commercialize it? How does it become the next big thing in the decade or so? There will be much more innovations that will come up. So we are not saying one approach is better than other. But then if you look at a calculated guess, if you have to make one, I think superconducting qubits might be the approach where you can take a bet at this point with the information that you have, the talent that you have, the kind of disruption that's happening in that space, that can be the long-term winner if you want to bet on that.
Correct.
But then it's too early to call the race.
Talent. Let's talk about talent.
Can I comment one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
And as a technology organization or a technology hub, what we are doing at VTT is, of course, we are betting strongly on the superconductors, but we are also researching on spin qubits. We are also researching on photonic platforms. So we are also doing things which we hope will evolve in future. So the field is still, to some extent, open. That was.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to also talk a little bit about internationalization of quantum companies and quantum technology, since we have, people from 2 continents here. And I know one of the driving forces is finding the talent, and a lot of you had born global internet companies since 10 years ago, and I'm assuming that in the quantum space, it's even more accelerated, being more global, being more diverse. Whurley, do you want to talk about that? Okay, now we.
Sorry, I muted. So that's the thing. Quantum computing has went global a lot faster than some of the other technologies. And, I keep comparing it to 1960s with a microprocessor, and kind of, if you look at that curve of adoption and how fast things accelerated with quantum computing, I think that becomes a much more steep curve, almost a wall. And so I think companies and countries are really investing in this now to make sure that they're not left behind when it becomes viable commercialized technology, because it's going to happen seemingly overnight after, from all the way back to the fifth Solvay conference and quantum mechanics coming to being, to Feynman and Benioff in the 80s deciding that you could use the spin to create a bit in a computational system. There's so many decades of history in this, and like everything, it's going to be a giant overnight success, right, when it just comes out of nowhere. But it's definitely going to be something that happens on a global scale because of the importance of the technology, because of the discoveries, the advantages it can give countries' economies and things of that nature. I think you're going to see it happen in multiple places at the same time.
I see Himadri nodding a lot. We don't have many minutes left. Let's talk about the Finnish. You touched upon the Finnish ecosystem. Can you tell us what type of talent is available if someone is thinking about maybe opening? Why would anyone come to Finland and open a quantum shop there?
Sure. Finland, being a small country, it has its strong advantages as well. And one of the rare things that has happened in Finland is the value chain that has evolved around the quantum topic. And it's not just about hardware, software, but it's the whole thing of talents. So starting from education and training in the universities, and then early stage research at the universities, those has been happening since 1960s on the topics of quantum. And then there are these innovation and business development sort of phase where VTT comes in strongly and can support businesses. And then, of course, there are success stories like IQM, Blue Force, Afore, which is also a company from Finland, making good business out of it. And then Finnish competence in AI, machine learning, and softwares and cryptography are also very well known globally. So those also support the quantum software industry as well. So in a whole, I think Finland offers the whole package, and it can really create an impact if you are here. And of course, there are these other organizations which provide business support and soft landing, and Business Finland offering funding for early stage development and so on. So
yes, call me. Okay, we only have a few minutes left. I'm going to ask each of you, are you hiring? Who are you hiring, and where are you hiring? Whurley, let's start from you. You're muted.
I'm hiring more and more software developers, and I'm hiring them all over the world. We already have software developers and physicists across Europe. A couple of people we're starting to work with in Asia, obviously all over the United States and Canada. So we'll continue to be hiring software developers globally as we continue to try to democratize and humanize this technology.
Yeah, I'm seeing tweets in German, I think.
Yes, you'll be seeing tweets in a lot of languages. Our platform right now is being used in over 40 countries, and we currently support about 7 languages. So you'll be seeing more and more, and Finnish soon.
Yeah, beautiful. Raghu, IQM.
Yes, so I think let me comment on the talent in this quantum space. So one of the things, it's not for everyone, but then if you believe in long term, like building something from scratch and building the future of technology, and if you want to work with the best, then quantum is a space where the best attracts the best talent. So you will always work with the best talent because they are the ones who are pioneers, whom we are going to speak as legends or in the future generations to come. So that is the context which I would put. And then whom are we hiring? We are hiring all kinds of different profiles and different functions, right from software, because we do have some software at the system level, hardware, quantum maintenance, fabrication. So we hire across different functions. Our career site has many open roles right now. We are actively hiring in Finland and in Germany, but then we are open to global talent. We think at the last count, we have about 20 nationalities in the company, which is only 100 employees. And almost every week, there is a new employee who's flying into Finland, moving into Finland from other place. So we are actively hiring international talent to come and work with the best of the best talent and the ecosystem, which Himadri said, along with the idea that you will work with the European ecosystem and also the global ecosystem, because Finland and Europe also have partnerships across the world, which very few ecosystems can offer you. So if you want to work in the best, both in terms of technical or in the business development side, then please send us a message and we are happy to have a discussion.
Himadri, VTT, are you hiring or companies that work around you?
We are, and at this moment of time, I think there are 5 open positions for quantum engineers. So please apply if you are interested. And then we will soon start recruiting people for quantum algorithms as well, quite heavily. And this is a issue. There is a shortage of talent in quantum right now. So I think in many cases we will be going after the same people in some countries and domains. So, but we need more talents, that's for sure.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things, I've been following this space for about a year now, is it seems that the talent in quantum is hugely diverse, more diverse than in other tech fields, and it's probably because the talent is so scarce that you cannot be biased. You have to hire the best talent.
Yes.
All right, I think we're running out of time. I want to thank our panelists. This was wonderful. I'm so grateful you made time this morning and this afternoon. Looking forward to continuing our discussion on another platform. Thank you.
We have so many questions that came in. First, we didn't receive, but then towards the end, I think I'm going to start from the end where we talked about talent and hiring. There were many questions about hiring, but you can contact these companies separately, and they also posted some of that on the chat, so you can read and connect with them directly. I'm going to start with the generic question. What are the real world problems that quantum computing can solve? And any one of you can start.
I think there's a good call for optimization problems at this point, being very pretty good target area of solving. Also problems in chemistry, pharmaceuticals, material science. Those are all things that I think are closer in the grasp of where quantum computing is today.
And maybe if I can add from IQM side, we are focusing on quantum finance and then quantum chemistry, material science, which Whurley actually said. But then it's also a few years away to solve the real world problems. At this point, we are building quantum computers to build for the problems for the future. But these are the areas where we are at least focusing on: quantum finance, material science, and quantum chemistry.
Very relevant. Because we have chemistry companies and finance companies online. So that's a very, very good answer. I'm going to move on to the next question. We have a lot of questions on software. One of the questions is existing software going to be obsolete? And another one is, what software tools are you using? Whurley, let me ask you first, and then the others can come in.
Sure. No, it's not going to change. I mean, most of these things are written in Python. There are people working on new languages and new stuff, but you still have a lot of standard languages and things. So no, it's not gonna make those obsolete. And the tools that you'll want to use to do that are all of the frameworks. So there's various frameworks, whether they be from vendors like IBM has Qiskit, Rigetti has PyQuil, and everybody has one, or some of the things from Unitary Project, tools from them. Really love what Will Zhang and the gang are doing there with open source tools for quantum. And of course, that's what Strangeworks has done, is taken all of those tools and put them on quantumcomputing.com, where everybody here today can go register for free and have tutorials and access and links to them. I think that'll help you get a little better bearing on how the languages are used and what you do with them and where this is going.
Follow-up question on algebra. There's a question, does binary algebra work, or do you need a new algebra? You can take that, whurley, or one of the other speakers can chime in as well.
Whurley, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think the fundamentals of mathematics of quantum are gonna change or create any kind of new algebras or anything.
Okay, let's move on to hardware. There's a hardware question. The quantum computers in the future, Raghu, I'm going to ask you to answer this first. Will they be kind of portable laptops, or are we talking about like mainframe server types of computers?
So if I would know where the future will be, then it's difficult. But in the near term, I can say that it will be like a mainframe quantum computer. So in that sense, it could be about 6 feet in width and then 6 feet in height. So it will be pretty big. So in the near future. But then in a longer term, I don't think we can predict it yet. But I hope, as a science enthusiast and a student, that it will start miniaturizing at some point in time. But then for foreseeable future, it will be quite big.
Anyone else?
I can comment. I tell this story that when the mainframes, IBM mainframes, were used in NASA for the space flights, they were a room full of computer. And look where we are now. So give us this time at least to get there. We are not there yet.
Yeah, that's a related question also on the users. Are these going to be computers that the average person can use, or are they going to be always be used by professional trained people?
So I get this question all of the time. So, you know, I think this will follow the natural path of software development, which is it's very hard or specialized. It doesn't matter whether it was mainframes or web development or machine learning, and there were fewer people in it. And then as abstraction layers were added, in other words, taking the physics and pushing it closer to the machine and making it easier for a larger mass audience to get to, then you have more and more people get into it. I mean, I can remember in the 90s when an exec at IBM asked me what a web developer was, because they made $350,000 a year to make web pages. And today it's Wix for $9 a month, right? So I think this is what software does. I think it will follow a similar fashion. But as far as people using it, they won't use it directly, but they will use the benefits of it. So for example, things like Grover's search algorithm, Google will be using that and making better searches. So people doing searches on Google's will get the benefits of a quantum computer, but they won't be interacting with it necessarily in a direct fashion.
Maybe if I can also add, so there we will also see a future where quantum computers and a classical computer will coexist. So there are some problems which a quantum computer can do really well, some functions which it can perform really well. It will do that and hand it over to a HPC center or a supercomputer to do the rest. So these algorithms, so it is not, we should not look at it as a quantum computer as a standalone, but they will coexist.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think the thing you have to keep in mind is these are not a replacement for a classical computer, right? So think of it like travel, right? In the US, it used to take 6 months to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. Then it took a week by train. No matter how far you go, you reach an ocean, right? So you need air travel. So this is a different type of computer for a very highly specialized type of calculation that the computers we have aren't incapable of doing, that it would just take them so long that we don't want to wait 10 years, 20 years, 2,000 years, 2 million years. And so you'll see where I think classical infrastructures will be still dominant in this research area. They'll hand off the computational complexity to a quantum computer, get the information they need back, and then continue along the path of getting to an evaluated answer.
Thanks, whurley. I'm going to take one more audience questions, and then I will allow you guys last words if you want to wrap up. The last question is on hardware again. It's a specific question for the hardware parts. Are they designed in Finland or outsourced from other countries? And a follow-up from another person is, the supply chain of these quantum computers, they are different from classical computers. Classical computers, the components are sourced from around the world. So speak to the supply chains if you can.
I think at this point it is a global supply chain. So we do have a lot of components coming in from other parts of the world, but then there are also experts in Finland, like Blue Force, who's an expert in cryogenic, in creating low temperature cryostats and in other technologies. So we do use a lot of components from Finland, but it is a global supply chain at this point, and we have several partners across different countries from where we source our components. And Himadri, if you have anything to add.
No, I think you are absolutely right. And what we also want to tell people honestly is quantum is not a volume business yet, quantum hardware at least. So there will be a lot of specialization happening, and the volumes will still be less, but it's not about volume, it's about value. So it's a different kind of business model.
That's right.
Not about volume, but about value. Whurley, any last wise word from you?
No, I agree tremendously. I think the thing with some of the quantum computing and the supply chain, it depends on the type of computer that's being built. There are people who are doing things that they're very dependent upon, certain isotopes, certain things that if they weren't able to get those, they wouldn't be able to do their work. So dilution fridges, there are countries looking at export laws around those, et cetera, et cetera. But it is a global supply chain. It is a supply chain that is very stable right now. It's very small quantities, very specialized work. And I think that, when I think about the supply chain, I think of guaranteeing kind of its integrity in the future so that there's enough availability for all of the companies building these machines, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, the point's well taken that it's pretty early on. I mean, nobody's trying to buy 10,000 dilution fridges or, 20,000 sets of cryogenics or whatever. I mean, you're building these things. IBM has maybe a dozen machines online and around the world, right? So you're talking about a little bit of a different situation as far as where we're at in the evolution of the technology.
And Strangeworks is then there to make it accessible and usable to everyone, all of those hardware. That's right. Raghu, any final comments? What do you want to convey to the US audience?
Yes, so if you want to partner with us, or if you are part of the supply chain and if you want to initiate a discussion, then we are always looking out for great partners, great talent. You can visit our website, meetiqm.com, or otherwise we have a couple of roles also open exclusively for SXSW audience, so you can also apply there. While I would just encourage everyone to be part of this, open to this conversation, start championing the quantum cause, and let's together build the future of technology.
I like that. Himadri, you get the last word today. Go ahead.
There is very little to add. I think I would stress on the fact promoting Finland perhaps a little bit more. It's a great place to stay. As you can see, we are not native Finns, but we can vouch for that. And it's also a great place to innovate. And there is an open innovation platform, which is very open and inclusive. So if you have an idea, this is the place to be and develop that idea further.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who attended. We have recorded this session and the recording will be sent out to you. Thank you our panelists. I know you're on different time zones, so I appreciate you making the time today. If anyone has any questions on any of this, you can contact me or any of our speakers. And I wish you a great continuation of your South by Southwest week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.